Greetings, Ivy Artists. This is Miss A, and today I'm going to be talking about failure and art. So on this beautiful spring day, I thought I would talk to you about how failure is an intrinsic part of creation, of creating, of being creative, and how the two are related and how they feed each other. So this basically came about because I've been involved with this project, and it was really interesting to me that I had put so much effort into this project, and it was basically months of preparation, on and off obviously. I couldn't just do that project, but I did spend a lot of time on it, and I did put a lot of effort into it. And even though I was, such a busy bee and I thought I had it all covered, it was my first time. So all the work that I put into it was basically guesswork because I had never done it before, but I really wanted to do it. So basically the idea was I've finished a book and I was really excited to animate my protagonists. And I thought, what a great idea that would be to do a hand-drawn animation of the main characters of the book. And it all sounded fantastic. I was super excited. Like I said, I'd been working really hard and thinking about it and doing lots of research, of course, on YouTube and looking at animators and all sorts of things. And once I had done it, it was actually quite an anticlimax because I thought this thing would be so amazing. In my head, it was such an epic thing that when I actually saw what it looked like as an end product, I was really overwhelmingly disappointed. And it wasn't really even a failure, it's just that my expectations were so much higher. So I wanted to talk to you about this because I think, like I said, it's such a fundamental part of being a creative person. I am sure that many times you have put in a lot of effort into something, only to have it fail on you completely, or having someone tell you, well, you know what, it's not really working out, you're gonna have to start from scratch. And I think even when you don't have a teacher telling you stuff, you will encounter this in the real world. And in fact, when you do have someone like a teacher giving you feedback on what you're doing, is actually incredibly useful and supportive, even if the feedback isn't that great, because it makes you reflect on things. You have someone to bounce your ideas off. In the real world, you're basically working in isolation most of the time, especially if you're an artist. But I would say most creative professions have some part of the process where you are alone, just you and that thing that you're trying to manifest. So during those moments, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of questioning, there's a lot of vacillation or going back and forth between thinking, oh my God, this is genius, I'm so excited, this is going to be amazing, and the other voice saying, well, this is completely ridiculous, why are you even trying? Just give up, this is nonsense. So when you're in that space, it's really important that you have some strategies to offset that or to counteract that so that you keep going. And like I said, if you have someone guiding you, like a teacher or a mentor or a professor, that process becomes so much more doable. It becomes so much easier because you're accountable to somebody and you are getting regular feedback, which means that you can process that feedback, take what you need to take from it, and move ahead with it. So what are the strategies to keep yourself moving? I thought I'd make this video because the strategies really are, once you have failed, like for instance the project that I've been working on, like I said, it's turned out to be a bit of a disappointment. What I need to ask myself really at the end of the day is it worth it? And the answer is absolutely yes. because I had an idea. I did my best to try and manifest that idea, and all the kind of the thought processes that went into the preparation, the skills that I needed to attain or improve in order to manifest that project. The process itself of being really focused on just one thing, and one thing that really, is very personal to me. I love the characters of my book, and I love the process of making artwork. And it's a very, very special and intimate time when you're in that bubble of just making artwork. So I don't regret it in any way. And in fact, I have learned so much more. So if I was to do it again, I would do it differently. And obviously I'd be making mistakes again. But hopefully either I won't make the same mistakes, or those mistakes will be slightly less detrimental or slightly easier to fix, etc. So I think the strategy when you're in that bubble of, I'm not sure what I'm doing, is this okay, what's the point, is to remember your achievements and having and kind of projecting yourself to the end of this project. And no matter what happens at the end, you will look back on it and feel that you have achieved something, and that you have learned something, and that you're not static. You're not in the same place where you were before you started the project, or you're not the same person you were before you did and attempted and challenged yourself to do this. One of my memories of being in an art department and having an examiner to come and monitor the artwork in an exam exhibition. So the student that I'll be mentioning here was someone who is highly, highly accomplished, and their work was of a really, really high quality. And, we were all kind of pretty sure that this person will be scoring really, really highly, because they deserved to. They put in the work, they had the skills, and they had this huge body of work. But I'll never forget when the examiner said that this person had plateaued a long time ago, meaning that they had been on the same level throughout the 2 years that they were working at. And they felt that the teacher who was teaching them had simply not challenged them enough. So this is a really, really good point, because I think it's confusing to a lot of students when they come into IB Art and they have received really positive feedback in the past, and once they come onto the course, they're not getting by all the strengths that they had acquired, like skills, etc., because the teachers and the IB course are challenging them to give more conceptually, improve their skills even further, and most importantly, try new things, experiment and fail. Because that's the cycle of creativity. It is a continuous cycle of destruction and creation, of failure and creation, I should say. Because every time you put yourself in a position where you're trying to achieve something that is challenging, you will have not only that experience of having to overcome the challenges that have come up and find creative solutions for them, but you're also sparking off lots and lots of new ideas. Ideas that will not only help you with art, but with life itself. These are life skills, because you will be challenged. There's lots of things in the real world that you have no control over. And it's about creative solutions. How do I actually think back to all the times that I was challenged? How do I find the strength to face a new challenge? And how do I have the resourcefulness of learning from all the previous experiences that I can apply to this new one? So the point here really is that creativity is not something that is stagnant. It is something that needs to be continuously refreshed. And the way that you refresh it is by tipping the balance. And you tip the balance by trying new things, by experimenting, with things that you know will be difficult. You know, it's about dreaming up crazy, crazy things and tasks and projects, and then going after that and doing your very, very best to come as close as you can to that vision. Really, this video was to inspire you and to keep you going through the hard times. If you're doing art properly, you will be challenged over and over again. Yes, there's a lot of pleasure to it as well, especially, like I said, when you're, you know, in that intimate bubble with your work, when your thoughts are all focused on creating and manifesting this vision that you've had, that you've planned for, that you've thought about, that you've really imagined in such detail. But it's also when things go wrong, you don't have the right materials, the timing is wrong, the space isn't appropriate, or you know, you don't have the skill set to actually create it to the level that you were hoping to. So on and on and on. And that's really what creativity is all about. And like I said, if you are in a place where you're really comfortable, you're doing things that you know you're good at over and over and over again, that's not really art. And I know this is a little bit contentious because there's a lot of people who find pleasure with just being able to express themselves and, you know, just being able to make pretty things, or things that make them happy, or things that they really love. But if there is that lack of challenge, lack of experimentation, and the comfort level is obviously individual, and you know when your comfort level is holding you back. And more importantly, your teacher will know when your comfort level is holding you back. And they will push you. They will push you further, they will push you harder, and they will push you to really relearn, revision, renew your whole process, your whole attitude, because that's their job. So it's really, really important that you understand that challenging yourself, pushing yourself in directions that are uncomfortable possibly, is really important to that whole process of creativity. Essentially, without failure, there's no creativity. There's only decoration, I would say. There's a wonderful book by Lisa Feuvre, which is called Failure. It's a series by Whitechapel Documents of Contemporary Art. And I'll just read a little bit because it talks about, obviously, failure specifically in art. The book is about investigations of failure as a key concern as theme, strategy, and worldview of recent art. So just a little bit of blurb, not too long. Amid the global uncertainties of our times, failure has become a central subject of investigation in recent art, celebrating failed promises and myths of avant-garde, or setting out to realize seemingly impossible tasks. Artists have actively claimed the space of failure to propose a resistant view of the world. Here, success is deemed overrated, doubt is embraced, experimentation encouraged, and risk considered a viable strategy. The abstract possibilities opened up by failure are further reinforced by the problems of physically realizing artworks, wrestling with ideas, representation, and object making. It's a really, really interesting study of the role of failure in contemporary art. And it talks about how artists are not only looking at our failure as a society, as a political system, etc., and incorporating and examining that in their artwork, but also about dealing with disappointment in art, which I've already talked about, is frequent. The concept of disappointment comes hand in hand with trying to do stuff, trying to make artwork. The idea of challenging yourself to do incredible tasks, you know, literally tasks that are very, very demanding, you know, as well as challenging. It's almost like a scientific kind of experiment, pushing boundaries of what's been there or of what is already established and pushing that further to really bring about something new, which is what art is all about. And also the idea of challenging our concept of success, of what success is. Because we tend to be primed or brainwashed even to think of success in very specific ways. And a lot of artists challenge that, not only from perhaps having lifestyles that are not necessarily the norm, but also by challenging the art world's rules and the way things are done and the dogmas within the art world. Those need to be challenged regularly as well. And again, this idea of wrestling with their own ideas, of the doubts of compromising your ideas because, you can't make a 60-meter sculpture that you would ideally love to, etc. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there. But a lot of what we would really, really love to do, we actually can't. So there's always this kind of disappointment, failure factored into anything that we do. And it's about, working through those disappointments and challenges and limitations and finding, again, creative solutions to how you can compromise in a way that doesn't completely diminish what you're trying to do. I'm recommending this book because I think it actually would make it a very, very interesting extended essay question. Because I think investigating failure in art is really an incredible, if somewhat abstract idea, but the thing about this book is that it will give you lots and lots of artists who are dealing with the idea of failure in their own work. So I think by getting this book or having a look at it, I think it's actually out of print. So do look for either copies in the library, the ebook version, or secondhand copies. It's not exactly a casual read. So I'm sure there's quite a few floating around. This idea of failure is really dealt with or looked at, investigated through the viewpoints of artists who are actually dealing with it. So it's not kind of, you're just waffling on about failure, the concept of failure. There are concrete examples of artists who deal with that idea, and it'd be quite interesting to write about possibly how they deal with that concept. What strategies do they use to deal with that concept? How is the concept of failure manifested in their artwork, or how they approach their artwork? So I hope this has been inspiring. I really, really do. Trust me when I say that when a teacher is pushing you, that's a really, really good, healthy thing for you. Even if you don't want to become an artist later on, it's a really valuable skill to get over that frustration and look at all the benefits that you're gaining from being pushed out of your comfort zone. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Miss A. All the best.